how many people here have seen the report that we did for the membership chairs? Come on, Brenda, I know you've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Julie, Colin's not, Nigel's not, the look of it. So
just to clarify, I'm the public image chair, but I work closely with Alistair, who's
okay.
the membership chair. So he's asked me to do this as well because we're jointly going to try and roll it out.
Obviously, Himanshu's not got his video on at the moment. So, so what I'll do, I'll go through a presentation, but I'll share the results that come out, if that's okay, for those that have not seen it. I'll just do it over a couple of minutes. I've put together a PowerPoint, which I really hate doing, but I think it's so technical a topic that we're going to have to just go through that. So allow me to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're here all about the online health check that we've developed, particularly for districts and for clubs. And hopefully at the end of this session, you should be able to conduct an online health check, train others in your districts. This is really part about train the trainers as well, for them to manage an online health check and also understand the tools. I appreciate there's going to be questions, and we will do a user manual for this. I just don't have that done at the moment. So what's the purpose of a health check? And this is just, if you've not been through it before, clubs get an overview of their current performance, as opposed to visioning, which we were looking at before, where visioning is looking at where do we want to be in 5 years. Health check's all about where are we today. And the guidance looks at 5 areas of Rotary life, which we'll come on to. The good thing about a health check is everybody gets to input. The benefit of an online one is they get to input anonymously, and there's nobody sitting next to them giving them answers that they might want to put in or not want to put in. And of course, the remedies are decided on in a plan of action, because if you go to a doctor for a health check and if you don't take a remedy for something wrong, then it's a bit pointless, isn't it? But everything is developed by and it's owned by the club. And there's not a tell from outside people. It's up to them to make their decisions. Facilitators can guide that, of course, and that's fine. So the 5 areas that we look at, and there's a page of yes, no questions in each. Do we do it or do we not? So it's on club experience. So how do you find the club? It's on the service and socials, which is kind of says for itself. It's on the membership. It's on the public image, because without the right public image, we're not going to get the right members, are we? And then it's how do we conduct the business? How's the business in operations? And if we thought about it in a health environment, what we're really looking for is the club experience as the bedside manner of looking after Rotarians. The service and socials could be shared as the physical or the emotional health and how we're looking after other things. Members and image together is really the heart of your club. And emerging leaders is not one of the points, but it really comes out of everything else. That what we're trying to do, as well as everything else, is really looking for the emerging leaders that's going to take the club forward, and obviously, hopefully, take the district forward and Rotary, maybe Rotary, GB&I, and even RI. And then business and operations, again, an image. That's all about the brain and the nervous system of the club. So again, you see in here, you see where the 5 elements feed in to everything. So everybody comfortable with that? Good. Bunch of nodding, so good. What's the next one? So how different is online health check? Fundamentally, it's the same. And the basic fundamentals of everything have not changed at all. However, I hope there's no Americans on here, because we have de-Americanized it. We've taken out boards, we've made sure it's councils, we've done lots of other things. And one thing I've got a personal hate for, I've taken out the word professional or professionals in it, and I've used different words, because I had a conversation with Holger Kanak when he was on one of the Together talks, and asked him if he really meant professionals. He says, no, we want leaders in the community, people who are going to do things. So there's a couple of things we've done, and I've got to admit, we've added 3 questions. So there's now 70 in total. And if you can spot that difference, that's fine, but I'm not telling you where they are. The great thing about it is participants end up with a much shorter health check. When I used to do this face-to-face, it used to end up at 4 hours or something when they filled in the paper and then went through the analysis trying to gather it together. And we'll come on to the timings part of it. The club gets much more analysis and they get it automatically. And again, we'll show you how that works. And those that have seen the report will understand what I mean by that. And many of the tasks are now automated that we've got. So producing all the analysis, once we get the answers out of the questionnaire, and once we've kind of juggled them out about a little bit, everything else is automatic, and we'll come back to that. The good thing is, because we've set it up the way we have, it is fully anonymous. We do ask for people's email to come in. And the only reason for that is in case people fill it in 2 or 3 times. People fill it in and realize, did I really mean that? And they'll go and do it again. And that's fine, no issue. If they do that, we'll just take the most recent one that they've filled in. But that's the only reason we ask for email, and nobody in the club will see who's actually filled in or what they've filled in. And the guidance tools that are the remedies, there's nothing changed in that for the clubs to use. The prognosis as it was in the health check, when you get the health check booklet for the manual system, all that tools are exactly the same. So the process that we go through, is anybody any questions up to that point? Are we okay?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, great. So the process we're looking at is the club decides they want to have a health check, and that the AG might prompt that when they see it. The club might decide themselves, but a lot of AGs are being encouraged by the district governors to say, you know, clubs could benefit from a health check. And once they've decided, the way I've called it is there's a first meeting which introduces the process. And then immediately after that, there's a link to Google Forms. And that first meeting, as far as the facilitator is concerned, is a 15-minute introduction. This is the health check, not much more than I've shown you already on the five pieces. It says what's going to happen, and I'll cover that as well. And then immediately after, the facilitator would just get the club secretary to send the link out to Google Forms to everybody. Once that's sent out, the Rotarians need to fill it in. And a lot of people on here have filled it in. And I'm sure, I initially told people 20 minutes. I'm being told it shouldn't take more than 15 minutes for people to fill it in. It is yes, no. And then once they've filled it in, here's the piece that the facilitator's got to do is analyze the input that comes. And I've put 2 hours in there. It took me a couple hours for the first one because I was still playing about with the templates. But we do have an Excel template, we do have a Word template, and we do have a PowerPoint template to do that. I think part of the analysis is just perhaps guiding the club into the areas they might want to look at. They certainly don't want to look at 5 areas, you know, all the 5 areas we talked of. They really want to look at what's the 2 or 3 worst areas, because you don't want them eating a whole elephant at once. That doesn't work, does it? They can always come back to that. So the facilitator would just look at that and pick out a couple of key points for them to consider. In the second meeting is where the club gets the feedback, and what I've been doing is doing this a week after the first meeting. So Rotarians generally get a few days, and I'll come back to that. And then there's no more than half a day to issue the thing back to them. And then you get them back into the second meeting and for them to decide the remedies. And that's, I've done 4 now, and it's 75 minutes, it's 70 to 80 minutes. 75 should be quite comfortable for that. And then after that, the club pulled together a plan, and really it's up to them to do that. One of the things I am doing is saying to clubs, I want to come back in 3 months' time and just sense check how you're getting on. In my own district, when we're talking of visioning, the visioning team weren't allowed to go back in. It was left to the AG. So we didn't really get feedback on how the whole thing worked. My recommendation is that the facilitator, the lead facilitator, should go back into the club in 3 months' time and just say, how are you getting on? Do you need any help? Do you need guidance? And just go over the plan with them. Is there any questions on that?
Yes, just one. How long do you actually give them to do it? I don't mean it takes them 15 minutes. Do you give them a couple of days?
I'll come on to that, Mike, just in a second. I think it's on the next slide. And any other questions on that? I think it's on the next one. So the process is obviously left to right, just like this. So what the Rotarians will be asked. So let's assume this is Thursday evening, and I know it's Tuesday, but I just pulled the slide off another one I did. So assuming this was a Thursday evening at the first meeting that we talked of. So what they'll be asked to do is complete this by Monday evening. Now, having seen clubs do this, I would even take a day off that, say do it by Sunday evening, give them, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday or something. And just tell them, and this is the information I gave them, saying data is captured online, it should take you less than 20 minutes. We assure them it will be anonymous, but for audit purposes, in case somebody's filled it in twice, we'll just ask for your email so we can do that. And then the facilitator will analyze that and return the report. And that was the Word report that I sent out to everybody that was on the meeting we shared before. And we'll give you that by Tuesday lunchtime, so that they've got Tuesday, Wednesday, and up to the Thursday on their next club meeting. And if you remember in the Word report, there was information at the back that says, please print out what's in the report. So there's a couple of the action sheets which says, you know, what were the top things in the topic that we're looking at. So if we were looking at membership, we'll look at that, but we'll give them everything so they can print it out and have it in front of them. And I can't remember, is it 19, 20 pages in total? I think it is. But that includes the help sheets and includes the prognosis sheets. So that's what they'll be told. Another thing we'll say to them, confirm it's anonymous. If they don't know an answer, then please tick no. Don't think it's a maybe yes, maybe no. Just tick no if you don't know. And really, if there's perhaps new people in the club, that could help identify if there's any people that really don't understand everything about Rotary or everything of what we do. And it'll help when it comes, when we see the graphs further on, if there's people needing help. What's really interesting is, no, I'll come back to something else later on. So we'll tell them it's that, and we'll feed back the analysis at least 2 days before the second meeting, which is usually 1 week ahead. And they will have facilitators lined up and briefed in what to expect. And there is a briefing document for facilitators, which we'll put on a shared drive, and I'll get that done in the next 2 or 3 days. And I'll share something at the end of just some other work we're needing to do. So as a facilitator, if we're setting up the Google Forms, this is what Google Forms looks like. So there's one I did on for Forest, my own club, on the 23rd of July. The one we did on the 13th of July, can't remember who that one was for, or another one for health check questionnaire. So if you go into Google Forms, and there's been multiples of these, And you can just copy them across for a new club. And I'll give you a new link for that club. Now, what I've still to sort out is where Google Forms is going to reside. Until we sort that out, I'm happy to hold that and use that and let you have the links for that at the moment, but not in the long term. And then what people will see is this questionnaire that's come up, the Rotary Club Health Checks. It's got an introduction, just as routine doctor's visits, etc. And then it goes into the different questions. So there's the start of, at the bottom, your club experience. And a lot of people here have actually been through the whole thing. And you can see that they've got to enter a valid email address. They might put in mickeymouse@disney.co, but that's not really helping. It doesn't go anywhere but to the facilitator. So that's what the people will see for the 70 questions, and it just runs down each section. Any questions on that? No, Ken, good. So the system structure is on the left-hand side, the facilitator, there's Google Forms, and that generates a link to the questions. I'm happy to do that at the moment, but I'll share that with others. I'd like Britain and Ireland to hold the master Google form and be able to do it for us. If not RI, we've actually shared the whole process now with RI. So the facilitator generates the link, and all you've got to do is, when the forum is ready on the previous one, you just say, issue it, and it'll give you a link to send out on an email. So after the first meeting, the Rotarians answer the questions, they click on the link, it takes them to Google Forms, and it's 70 yeses or nos. Pretty simple. The facilitator, after it's closed, after say the Sunday night, has got to download the answers, put it in Excel, and the only reason is for that is because I really understand Excel. I don't understand, you can use Google Sheets, and it was taking me too long to play with that. But if it's downloaded, we can produce everything automatically. And the results that are in Excel can be pasted into the Word template or the PowerPoint template ready for the second meeting. And the Word forum will go back. That's the Word document that would go back out to the Rotarians 2 days before the second meeting. But they would all have a copy of that in the second meeting.
Did you say the after the graphs, the Word document? How's that?
Right.
How's that produced?
It's just a copy paste into a template. So,
okay.
So I'll show you the Excel. Let me do the next slide first, and then I'll drop out of this and I'll go into the Excel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the club produces the plan for the way forward, and we'll follow it up. So that's the structure of the data, as opposed to the structure earlier on of the sequence of events. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. When we get data from Google Forms, here's what the data looks like. So to download the data, you download it using responses, which is this. So in the form, the facilitator's got access to the responses and can download the data. And then after that, you've got to view the responses in Sheets by pressing that link. And that takes you to Google Sheets, which has got everybody's yes, no, it's got all the questions. And it's a simple from there. So that's what the data looks like in Google Sheets. Now, this was actually, this was my club, and I've kind of hidden a lot of people's emails. But down the left-hand side, it's got, here's when people did it. Here's this person, Stuart Murray, who filled it in twice. And further down in blue, Tracy Mickelson filled it in twice. So what we're going to do is we would pick up the second one of them rather than so he filled it in 1832 and he went back and did it at 1858. So we'll remove the duplicates, but we can do that in Excel when we take it over. So it's just a 2-minute thing to spin through. So we'd 40 responses in here. And across the top are all the questions. And again, so Stuart Murray said, no, we don't do that. No, we don't do that. Yes, we do that. Yes, we do that. So he said no, but you can see the people that said yes. I've only just hidden a lot of things so you don't see, for data protection, so people don't see what's been going on or can't pick up email addresses. Now, the horrible thing is where it goes into Excel. So the data from Google Forms, if I go back up, is we would capture all of this, and it's just a copy paste in Google Forms. So you copy all of this and paste it into the top, which is all the blue area in Excel, right at the very top of the sheet. And this is all in the template. The one clever bit is we need to transpose it, because down the left-hand side, we've got all the questions, which were along here. And the reason for doing that is this then automatically produces all the rest of the data. Now, this is a template. It's all set up. You don't need to worry about it. But the data is transposed over from the top green area to the bottom green area. And it just turns the whole lot around so that the sheets can look at it. And in Excel, I'll come back to this. I'm going to stop this share and I'm going to pick up the Excel sheet. And I think it's this one. Here we go. So in here, these are all your ones. So here we go. Rick Canham said, yes, no, no, yes, all the way through. So this is actually your data that we did at the time. So all of this is directly copied into Excel. Everything in yellow is already set up. And we just paste it into here. And we had 30 responses for this. Everything in this bit, we copy and paste into this cell here, this one cell just here. And when you're pasting it, there's a transpose option, which is all it does, it turns all the yeses, no, yes and no's against all the questions. Once that's done, if I press the summary tab at the bottom on Excel, the summary tab says 30 people answered and 67% said good in club experience, 58% not so good in members, and 73 were really good on image. So all you membership chairs are absolutely fabulous in image. And this graph just shows the same thing, and the average of 64. The worst club I've seen was about 55%. I've not seen a club at 70%. But when we come to the second meeting, we're not going to look at the 73. We're going to look at the members and perhaps service and social, or perhaps business and operations when we see it. This piece here about the respondents says that respondent number 1 scored this 58. Now, respondent number 2, 66, but the respondent number 24 scored it 24. That was amazing. That was, so what it's saying to us is, if this was a club, not everybody's in agreement with the results, or there's a difference in understanding of things. Does that make sense? Mm. And if I went to your club experience, which is the next tab, I'll just bring this up in size. Is that better?
Yeah. Yeah.
So each of the respondents are along the top, along here, and these are their scores. Yes, no, yes, yes, no. So respondent number 1 had 14. We've got 15 there's 15 questions. and 301 was, so 26 said, yes, I look forward to attending club meetings. 8 said, we recognise members of the club or community at least monthly. So it's quite interesting that 8 people thought they did, but 22 didn't. So when it comes to this, this is traffic lighted automatically down the left. It counts up everybody's scores automatically. And what goes into the Word document is this piece here, which is just copy pasted into the Word template. If I was then doing a commentary, I would say, perhaps we should look at this, or perhaps we need to look at, I don't feel obliged to have a meal at our meetings, especially today when some people, in my own club even, some people feel obliged to have a meal and they really don't want it. But it's just the way you look at it. And further down, so this was the membership chairs. So each respondent for your club experience, this was their answers. So respondent number 20 scored at 4 out of 15. The graphs are all set up, so 50, the top number is the number of questions. So if I looked at members, it's the same again. All this is automatic on this. If it's pasted into the first place, everything else is automatic all the way through. And you can very quickly say, if I just come back over, we recruit alumni. Now, why on earth do we not go after the RILA kids or the people we've sponsored in, or the mums and dad were sponsored in primary school quizzes, or young writers or photographers or whatever else we do.
Okay,
so you can then just pass a comment, and then again there's a graph, so you can see if there's a disparity between the members in the club. So if somebody in the club's gone and said, we do 17 out of 17, the respondent number 2, where respondent 22 said, no we don't, we only do 4. So each of the 5 systems has got that in the Excel sheet. What I didn't open up was the Word document, which I'll find in a minute, but I'll come back to the end. So what you've got is, from Google Forms, it's pasted into that sheet. These sheets have all the automatic analysis and graphs. So if it's pasted into this piece in Excel and the template Excel, it's all set up. The rest is automatic for you. And the automatic analysis will show you, I've only put in the one for the summary, but you could just as easily, in a PowerPoint feeding back to the club, you can put in each of the different elements. And any questions there so far? Good. So the facilitator team really needs to be people like yourselves, people who know Rotary and knowledge of what good looks like. So when the club says, what on earth can we do about that? At least you've got an answer and can guide them. Obviously motivators to help the clubs move forward. An ability to help them make a decision, because when we put them in the second meeting, we'll put them into breakout rooms and only give them one topic. We would give them perhaps members, or perhaps we'll give them service and social, but won't give them 2 topics. And they would have 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes perhaps, to go through what's the good points, what was the 3 good points, so they can celebrate success, which is important. Because every club's got good points, and we need to recognize that. And then we would look at, what's the 2 or 3 areas that we could do better on? And if that's why we traffic lighted each of the different elements, so they could see very quickly what was the key areas to look at. Obviously, a good presenter and a supporter in each breakout room. So each breakout room, so if we've got 4 breakout rooms, we really need 4 people who can help. I've been very fortunate. I managed to twist my DG's arm up his back for one of them. I've managed to get the AG's arms up their backs and get them. And that's all part of sharing, so we can extend the understanding of how it all works in the club, or how it works in the district. The support expertise, the only one that really needs some knowledge on is Excel, to be able to just take that data, paste it in once and transpose it around. The rest is copy paste into Word and to PowerPoint. Zoom experience helps for whoever, and the use of breakout rooms for the second meeting. And obviously someone to work each breakout room, so somebody to be in that breakout room. And any questions on that bit, or anything you think's missing?
When you say transpose, you mean you're changing the shape from being one way to horizontal? You mean?
Yeah, so if I go back to that sheet, Mike,
Yeah.
I'll just stop sharing this one.
Yeah.
If I go back to this sheet, and if you remember this template, so everything comes in here. For respondent number 1 was Les, and all his yeses, noes are along this way, yeah?
Yeah.
So by transposing it, all his yeses and noes go that way.
Ah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Just click in the top left corner.
Yeah, that's right. So you would pick it up there. It just happens that I look forward to attend club meetings is the wider one. It doesn't need to be, it's just the way it's set up, because I wanted to get this lot in that place.
So do you just pick up the yeses and move the yeses, or you're moving all the...
You only need to pick up the yeses and nos.
Yeah, not the emails and everything to the
No,
left, it's just the yeses.
That's right. So in here, all I'd be looking for is, did this guy, Rick Canham, go and fill it in twice? Or has anybody filled it in twice? And I'll take the most recent one, and that's the benefit of the timestamp when they did it, yeah?
Yeah.
But no, we don't need that, because that's the only place that the names are seen or the emails are seen, and they're never seen by anybody else outside the facilitator. And that's really important to get that anonymity into it.
Yeah.
I've seen this when I've been running it in clubs on the face-to-face side. Somebody will be peeking over the shoulder of somebody else and seeing what they're writing down. And that really doesn't help. So this, if you actually look at this, the first 15 of these, so the first 15 is the My Club experience. So this then is automatically put over to there, yeah? And if I go back to this one again, the next one is all about the members, yeah? And the next group. So I've set this up so each of these other tabs along the bottom automatically pick up that data, automatically read it, automatically move it into here, automatically for the graph.
Okay, so each area's got a graph, so there's 5 graphs.
There are 5 graphs, so that's the one for service and socials. And each of the graphs has actually got members, or if I look at the image one, it's got image. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And that's generated automatically for you.
Ken, can we just go back a slide, Ken?
Sure.
So all the information that comes from the members' completion of forms, that automatically goes into these templates, doesn't it? We don't have to actually manually put that in, do we?
No. Can you see the slides just now?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me go back up the slides.
Okay.
So in Google Forms, this is what it looks like. Yeah?
Yeah.
or in Google Sheets. Remember, if I go further back up, we want to review this in Sheets, yes?
Okay.
Okay. And if you look at it in Sheets, this is what it looks like. So all we're doing is copy pasting from this A2 all the way down to the very end.
Right.
And along the top, I look forward to attending meetings. So there's 70 questions, or there's 70 columns.
I think
Yeah.
we're still on the Excel sheet. We're not
Yeah.
looking at sheets.
So this is in Google Sheets, and we want to copy this into the Excel
No,
template.
But I don't think we're looking at that. We're looking at the Excel one at the moment. I am anyway.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still on the.
Mm.
If you can also show us where the transpose button is as well, please, Ken.
Yeah, I'll show you that in a second. Where was I? I was going to Google Sheets, wasn't I? Okay. It's in this one. Right, so you're seeing the slideshow, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is what it looks like in Google Sheets, yeah?
Okay.
And we're copying all the data from A2 all the way across to the very end, which is about 70 columns further over, because there's 70 questions. So it's just a copy paste. You copy it from there, and we move it into Excel. So this is a very small picture of the exactly same Excel sheet we were looking at. All I've done is shrunk it down so you could see it on the screen. So everything's put in here in the Excel sheet. And if I go back to Excel, which is this thing. So at the top of here, this is your data that was copied and pasted into the Excel sheet. The yellow area is already in the template. So the data you paste in has got to go into A2. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay. And then if I just took these ones, and if I just copied that, which I've done, and if I moved it to there and said paste, so under paste, there's that transpose button.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 And that pastes it into the bottom half down here by just turning the whole table round.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've just grabbed every one of these yes and no's all the way along, copy it, and then paste it into there.
Right. Yeah.
All these questions in here are already in the template.
So this is all, this second bit is all blank before you've transposed it.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it will.
It's all blank before you transpose it.
Right.
And you would just clear out the Excel sheet in here, or you'd just pick up the template and restart it. Every time you save a template, it saves it as a new file, and the template's not touched. Okay.
Okay.
Just got to use it. Honest. I'm going to stop sharing that and go back onto the slides. So if you remember, that was this is in Excel. So what you saw in the Excel sheet, this is just a shrunk down version of what it is. The yellow is the preset information, which is the piece along the top, and this piece down here. And that's the data you pick up and transpose into the other bit. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just go back. Where were we? So the tools that we've got and all set up as templates. We've got the draft presentation for the first meeting. we've got the Google Forms questionnaire. We've got an Excel template to analyze the results, the Word template to issue the results, the PowerPoint to share. We've got an outline plan, and we've got a guidance document for facilitators. And I'll put all these in a shared drive for us. Things I've yet to do is to get a central home for the Google form, because at the moment it's sitting in my Google work. And really, for the long-term sustainability, I need to get that held by somebody in RIBI, or, sorry, Rotary GB&I, or Rotary International. I would like to try and get Google Sheets to do the automatic analysis, if we could. But I'm just not familiar with Google Sheets. I'm really comfortable in Excel. We need to put the template somewhere that we talked of, and I want to complete a comprehensive manual. And I guess my question is, what else? What else would be useful? And I'll come back to that at the end. So I guess the thing is to encourage clubs to use it, train others in the process, and I guess really after you've used it yourself once, and extend the knowledge throughout your district, or that should be throughout, not throughput, your district. 25 districts and however many clubs, practically, I can't do that, and we really need to get you to do that and understand it. So we've been through the check system. We've seen how it fits together. We've seen how to use the tools, and we've seen some of the key items on it. So I'm going to leave that one as www. We'll do this at the end. What's worked well, and even better if in the process. But I'm going to stop sharing and come back on, and I've rattled through that very quickly. What's the questions?
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
I know in my district, several clubs have done the visioning in the past. So like we need to sort of like try and do it a bit differently so that they don't think it's the same thing. So what would you suggest that you say to clubs?
That comes back to, there's two different things. It is different from visioning. It's all about what clubs are today. How are you today? And when you see, have you seen the questions before, Julie?
No.
On the health check?
No, I haven't.
Then we need to put the, have I got, I'll put the 70 questions. I'm not going to use there's a standard thing on Rotary, it gives you health check, but it's not the questions I've used because I've de-Americanized it and I've added 3. Remember that one about, do I have to take a meal? That's not in the American one. We added that one on. I've taken out the word professionals and I've used other words. So if I include 5 sets of questions in the wherever we manage to get this put. The big difference here, because we managed to do it online, is people are not sitting around for 4 hours. If you invite members to a face-to-face one, you might get half. You might get half of them. If you do it online, I'm finding we're getting 70–80% of members. The template sheet is actually set up for around 40 respondents at the moment. If we're going to get more than that, it'll take a couple of hours just to change that. So we can extend it to however many respondents as needed. My thought was we wouldn't get more than 40. I'm happy to be proved wrong on that. The other thing is, when it comes to so the members, the Rotarians actually see 15 minutes in one meeting, of saying what it is and here's what's going to come. And the second meeting is actually doing something about it. And that lasts no more than 70 minutes, 75 minutes. In that second meeting, don't let the president or anybody else go and do any other business, because they just go and eat into your time. And all of a sudden, you're 70, 75 minutes. The whole meeting ends up an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that's nonsense. So we've got to be fairly firm with clubs. People will accept 75 minutes of action. You need the facilitators there to help them in that, envisioning. All the facilitators are doing is scribing, but in there they're actually helping them in what are the type of things that could help, given what's showing up in the traffic lights is really needing help. Does that help you, Julie?
Yes, yeah, that's fine, yeah. So you don't need to get a full membership to reply, obviously that's what you're aiming for, but obviously you have a deadline time, don't you? And Monday night, and then that's it.
That's right. I would give them, if I was doing it earlier in the week, I would give them a couple of days or 3 days or something. The first one I did was a Thursday night, and I gave them till the Monday. I found 95% of them had actually done it before Thursday night. They'd actually just gone home and it was on Zoom. They'd just gone and done it. You know?
They're better doing it quickly, otherwise they'll forget about it.
Yeah.
But the really important piece also is to emphasize, if you don't know the answer, tick no. Because that's really important to help you understand, or the club understand, what the members don't know, perhaps. And some of it you might just find they're new members and it's not being explained a lot of. There's a lot of Rotary terminology in a lot of what we talk about. But some of them might just not be up to speed on. And it might just be an education process on some of the Rotary items, especially when perhaps it comes around foundation or attending things beyond the club, for example. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. What other questions? Crystal clear.
Do you have a recommendation, albeit it's a small number, but there are still people who are reluctant to do things online?
Sure.
We've got members who are on Zoom because their family's got them set up on a tablet. Do you have a kind of recommended approach to how to approach them?
See, a tablet approach is okay, Callan, because we're giving them a paper copy in advance and we're asking them to print it out. So they've read the whole thing, they've got a paper copy there. They've actually got their own worksheets. In the breakout rooms, you would ask somebody to be a scribe, to capture everything that's said and to hand it to somebody to collate into an overall plan. I would guess it needs to be, the secretary needs to appoint what I would call a health check champion, perhaps. My own club, we got the newest member to do it. And he's actually now got a task and he feels empowered to actually help Rotary move forward, which is great. So when they actually go into the breakout rooms, there's only 5 or 6 in the breakout rooms and they should be able to see that even on a tablet.
Right.
I've not, I'm trying to think, I meet with our kids and some, you can do 6 on a tablet, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the breakout rooms are usually no more than 6, so they can see everybody. And when it's that size, it's easy enough to have a discussion. Yes, Alan.
Are there any flexibility in the questions? If there's a specific club, for example, in the district that doesn't have council, doesn't have committees, doesn't have meals, and runs a completely different way, some of the questions are a bit awkward to answer. So I just wondered if there's a bit of flexibility so you could adjust for that.
I deliberately did not put in a not applicable. And really that then...
Oh, yeah, still yes and no, but just different question.
Yeah, because you'll get some people saying not applicable and others saying, yes, it is. It then comes down to the club when they go through the second meeting to say, really that doesn't apply to us, so we're not going to look at it. And the facilitator, if it's the AGs there or whoever, will probably know the club. So when the analysis is done and the thing's sent out, they're going to know that. Does that make sense? Yep. Any other questions?
When, Ken, do you think we will be in a position to start using this in action in our districts?
Tomorrow.
All right. Okay.
Good answer.
Yeah.
I can give you all the templates. I want to find a place to put them. I want RI, I want Rotary Britain and Ireland to do that for me.
Yeah.
I'm happy to set up, if there's one or two clubs in the near future, I'll set up a blank Google Forms, and the Excel, Word and PowerPoint templates will all be set up ready for you. And I'll have a location before then.
Can you send us the slideshow that you've just shown us?
I'll send it,
as well.
if I got all your, I'll send it to Emily. Emily's got all your emails.
Oh, if you send it to Mike, he can forward it. If not, so
Yeah.
Trust Mike.
Well, Emily's got it. Yeah.
You trust Mike, do you, to send it to you?
No, that's all right. Emily's got it, hasn't she?
So that will show the example we all did as district leaders then, yeah? So can we play about with that? Look at it?
I'll send you the Excel sheet that you did. So the download from Google Forms, I'll send you that. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
And I'm not worried about GDPR because you all know one another, and you've all agreed, haven't you?
Well, we're all on WhatsApp anyhow, so.
That's right. Yeah, I'll do that, and you can then, and if there's any questions, fire them back, and we can share that around the group.
Yeah.
How's the time doing? 5 to 8.
Doing well.
Yeah. For those that have not seen it, let me go and see if I can just dig out the Word document. If I can remember where I put it now. So I'm going to share a screen again. Where'd it go? It's this one. So the Word document is, I'll just make this big. You see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See that?
I'll just go into the page. So this was the result that I produced from your inputs. And this was identical if I'd done it for a club. So there's just a piece of background. There's an overview of the findings. And so there's one piece of analysis I've done.
Is this what you've written? As results?
Yes. So this is all in a Word template.
Yeah.
I would give you the whole template, and then you can just add in things like this. Yeah. Mm. So here's the number of respondents. Here's the summary, and as you can see, this is just a copy and paste from the Excel sheet. Mm-hmm. So the DMC, that could be the Rotary Club of wherever, develop all this into a second meeting by, and you would put a date in. There's nothing else needs to go in there. That's standard. And that's just a comment. Respondent 24. So you're not putting a name, there just happen to be a respondent. Mm. When you see each of the graphs, Respondent 24 on graph 1 is the same respondent all the way through the other graphs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then your club experience, copy paste from the Excel. This piece is copy pasted, and I've written 3 observations on that.
So you're not telling them, as you said, nothing. You're not telling them anything what to do. You're just actually commenting on the findings.
Absolutely right. Same with service and socials. Same with members, except there was more questions in there, so it just went on to a second page. Same with business and operations. And then there was a bunch of appendices saying there's a worksheet, and the worksheet it's the same worksheet that's in the standard paper form you get out of health check. And then there's what they call, so I've given them a couple of those, and that's why I said print this document out.
Is that just for their use?
That's for their use. So we issue this document to every member of the club, or we get the secretary to issue it to all the members of the club, and ask them to print it out before the second meeting, so they understand it. And then we talked about the prognosis for club experience. If they can't come up with something, there is a couple of suggestions, and each of these topics is actually a link to something on Rotary's website. So member satisfaction surveys you can pick up, Rotary fellowships, organised RILA. These are all things they can go and do separately if they want. So part of their actions might be, in this thing, we might go and do the community assessment tools thing. And each of these are really 20-minute things, 30-minute things that they could do themselves, or the AG could help them do. So there's one of these, again, so there's one for members, there's one of these for each, and all that's in the report. So when I say it's 2 hours, the longest thing, to be honest, is just sitting down and writing these.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I do this, I'm not telling them to do anything. All I'm saying is,
look at it.
Yeah, here's what it is. And when I did it with my own club, to be honest, if I go back up to this one, members and business and operations were the 2 lowest. So when we did the breakout rooms, I did 2 breakout rooms of members and 2 breakout rooms of business and operations, and then joined the results together. Yeah. Because if something's at 73%, let's not look at that. Let's look at the areas that would really help the club. Yeah. So I'll stop sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. If you're not, if you want to come back on, so we've got another one next Tuesday, same time. There's a few spaces on that, and there's also Saturday, October the 3rd, and there's several places on that. So if you wanted somebody else in your district to go over that, get them to speak to Emily, book it on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 7 booked next Tuesday, and there's 6 booked for Saturday, the 3rd of October.
That's just a repeat session of this.
Exactly. A repeat session of this. Yep. So if you wanted somebody else in the district to understand it, get them to come on. That's fine.
Well, I was thinking if we had something to play with, we might want to come back and ask you more questions.
Happy for that as well. Happy for that as well.
I've got a first meeting of our district membership team for this year, come on Thursday. So I would be very interested in booking some of the team onto the thing if possible.
Okay. So there are spaces on the 29th at 7, so that's a week today, and it's 10 a.m. on the 3rd.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to help me before I go into the next one, what's worked well tonight? That www.ebi.
I think it was good. Yeah, I think being able to see what you were doing as you were doing it, and just being able to go back and explain it again for those of us who haven't done a lot of Excel training. I think that's good to do.
Yeah.
And I think I'll learn it better when I've actually done it practically myself.
Yeah.
So the slides that you've shown will be useful to look back on.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem I'm going to find is this visioning versus health check. I mentioned health check to my club the other day, and all they saw was visioning.
Yeah. A lot of people have done it
developed a
recently.
plan. Yeah, they developed a plan and then changed their mind, and they blame visioning.
So the biggest way I explain that is visioning's 5 years out, and where you're going.
I got you. Yeah.
Health checks today.
Yeah.
So are we calling it 2020 health check or something like that?
You choose.
Well, thank you very much. I found that very useful.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, very good.
What would be even better if? What would that be if there's anything?
The only bit I don't know about is actually step number 1. And that is, I've never looked into Google Forms or anything like that. Everything looks quite simple the way that you put it.
Yeah.
And I'm there thinking, right, where do I find Google Forms? Which is just step number 1. Sorry about that.
No. And that's part of why I said, what's the expertise you needed? So if you've got somebody who understands technology or something like that, get them to help you, Brenda.
Yeah, it's just that I've never used it. I'm sure it's very easy, but you know.
I didn't know it 3 months ago at all. So
Exactly. I mean, I'm sure it's very easy.
yeah.
I think our problem will be with members who aren't very technical, even with like laptops and emails and any sort of IT training. That the elderly members in the Rotary clubs will find some of it a bit difficult. But I think they've got probably a bit more practice recently. They've had to. So hopefully
most of them have given up the slate board now, moved on to the chalkboard, and just about getting into Zoom. So
And that's the benefit. It's a link they click on, and then it's yes, no.
That's good. That's a way to sell it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And having filled in the form, it's easy to fill in. So once it's there, just click through them, bang, 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 and done.
Yeah. And I like the idea that you're not telling them what to do. You're just actually making a few comments on what you see.
Exactly. They understand, but if you've got a facilitator in the room that's perhaps, somebody understands Rotary, understands membership, and understands what good clubs look like, they can suggest things without forcing it. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Great.
Right.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
thanks, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken. Cheers. Well done.
Yes, thank you.
I'll drop this stuff to Emily tomorrow morning.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Just for another 3 minutes.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, Julie.
Bye, Julie.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.